30 people showed up for their victory parade.
You're shocked that people didn't show up to a women's lacrosse NCAA championship parade?
I didn't say lacrosse. I said field hockey.
Oh, sorry,
I'm just saying
hockey.
there's got to be more than 30 family members. Like, that's my point. It's like 30 people.
So. I don't think there are more family members than that. They probably actively did not want to go to this parade.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog. If you haven't signed up yet, get yourself that deposit bonus of up to $1,000 plus a free pick on Monday Night Football for Kirk Cousins, and we'll have some Underdog plays previewing the Monday Night Football games a little bit later on with Jake Ciely from theathletic.com. Sir, your weekend, was it good?
It was quite good. Of course, just like you, had some bye teams that went nuclear, but it was good. Was that a play on words on purpose? Get a Kirk Cousins pick? Was that a joke on the interceptions? Was that what you were trying to do there?
No, but we'll just pretend I did and have it work out that way.
All right, I appreciate it either way.
Yeah, I got some plays for the Monday Night Football games, but there is a Kirk Cousins free pick. I mean, I guess now if I can reverse engineer that, not only if you play on the Raiders do you get a free pick, you too will get a free pick if you play Pick'em on Underdog using code Mayo and you're brand new. Plus, we're doing some PGA best ball drafts. Davis and I did a playoff NFL draft. There's a lot going on in Underdog right now, so get your ass in the game. Maybe you can win some big cash before Christmas. Pay off some debts. I've withdrawn like $9,000 in the past 3 months, Jake. It's been a good season on Underdog.
It sounds like it's been a really good season. And yeah, you can keep playing if you've already been knocked out of the playoffs, this is the best part. We don't want the season to end, so keep playing in all ways possible.
All right, well, where do you want to start? Because there's some news. I don't think that Mahomes is going to play this week against the Texans.
I don't think he's going to play either. I mean, honestly, they can't lock it up yet. They got a 2-game lead. I mean,
they have a 1.5 game lead.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they lost.
Yeah, so the Bills could catch them for the 1 seed if KC loses 2 of its final 3, and they have Houston, probably without Mahomes and Carson Wentz starting this week, and then they're going to have the Steelers the week after that on Christmas Day.
They're Steelers on the road. Yeah, I think they try to push it as long as possible, honestly.
I mean, I think they're now 3-point dogs to Houston, on this Saturday.
How? I know they've been playing like crap, but you can't tell me that you came out of the bye thinking anything's been fixed for the Texans. Not you, but anybody. CJ Stroud played meh. That game was the 2 touchdowns is the only thing that saved their day. Nico Collins had 30 yards. Tank Dell did nothing. This entire team really did nothing, and that was with Joe Mixon being banged up. I get it, but that team didn't look any different since it headed into the bye coming out of it.
No, I guess Netflix paid a ton of money for the Chiefs to be on Christmas Day, that maybe the league's like, hey, look, if you're going to sit down Mahomes, sit him down this week, give him 2 weeks off so he can come back. After the game, Andy Reid said that if it was a playoff game, he could have went back in. So, the spread is moving towards the Texans. It opened at 1.5 for the Texans last night when we did the show. Now it's at 3. No one has a better inside source on injuries than the sports books seem to. If they're going to move the line that much, it's almost like a positive indicator that Wentz is starting for Kansas City. I guess my question to you is, Kansas City can beat Houston with Wentz, can't they?
That's my point. That's why I would enjoy that the line was moving, and I'd still take the Chiefs, honestly, at this point.
I think I would too. Just they can win that game 17-15, or hell, lose by 2 points, something like that. Like you mentioned, maybe it was because Tua kept having turnovers and everything like that, but the Texans were so unimpressive. They were more impressive than the Dolphins were, obviously, but it's not really saying much.
No, I think their defense still looks good, but we knew that about their defense. I think that's the problem with the Chiefs too. Is a problem in a good way is that somebody asked me about matchups this week, and I forget who it was, but it was somebody going on the other side of that game against the Chiefs. And I was like, you know what? The problem is if you're talking about these 2 players, one was in a shootout because it was the Lions game. And I was like, there's not very many games you're going to get the Chiefs into a shootout because they just drag the game out. And that's because their defense, but they also grind out their drives, 13-play, 15-play drives. So you just don't get often shootouts. Where I'm going with this is they could still win this game with defense on both sides. They could win this game 17-13, and it's going to be kind of miserable with lots of field goals and maybe even that might even be a little aggressive. I don't know how well the Texans are going to move the ball against the Chiefs defense. I don't care. Like, that has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs defense is still really good, and Spagnuolo is still one of the best in the game to call it. You're not going to tell me he's got pressure coming for C.J. Stroud constantly. You said one extra defender for C.J. Stroud in this game, and yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans win, but the fact that you're going to give me +3 as of today, even with Wentz and a potential that we get Patrick Mahomes, like, I would just take that.
If you're the Chiefs, are you like, hey, why don't we sit Kelsey too? Make sure that he's like in bubble wrap for the playoffs. Like, get him as rested and as healthy as possible.
Hasn't he been sat?
We
wouldn't even know if he's been sat.
He's still out there at least. He's running routes.
Yeah, he's getting that cardio in, as everybody likes to say, getting the cardio routes in there, so he's in shape for week 17 and 18 in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's getting his conditioning in. If they win this week, I mean, it's basically over for them unless they really put forth a very poor effort against the Broncos in week number 18. But for the Texans, I bet on Indianapolis last week to win the division, and then it's out of reach now, I think. Yeah, because the best they can do is tie the Texans now that the Texans won. I was like, yeah, it's 11-1. If the Colts just run the table, they would have had to beat Denver. They have like 3 simple games remaining. They're not out of the playoff race here, though, which is kind of crazy to think about. They could catch the Chargers. They're 2 games behind the Chargers now.
They could catch the Chargers. The Dolphins still have the outside chance to get in, and they have like a ton that needs to break right. Did you see yesterday how many things have to break right for the Bengals? So far, it's happening. They got 1 week so far of it happening.
What do they need?
They had to win out, and then they needed
the
the Dolphins to lose. Dolphins and Chargers had to lose all but one of their remaining games, and then there was another one that had to lose 2 of the remaining 4. And I forget who it was.
All right,
it's a super, super long shot.
If the Bengals win out, Miami only has to lose 1 more time because that would get them to 9 losses. And yeah, the Chargers would have to lose out. And yeah, I guess Indy would have to at least lose 1 more game as well for the Bengals to have any sort of chance. The Bengals would be such a... We talked about this last week, and I don't think Cust understood the point that I was trying to make about it. That it was... We were talking about the Niners-Rams game last Thursday. It was like, if the Niners make the playoffs, no one wants to play the Niners in the playoffs if they make the playoffs. That means they would have went on like a 6-game winning streak. They probably got all their shit together. And he was like, well, no, I mean, everyone would line up to play the San Francisco. It's like, yeah, as of right now, that's the case. But in 4 weeks' time, if San Francisco found themselves into the playoffs, that means they figured something out. Imagine if all of a sudden Cincinnati started playing defense and they made the playoffs as the 7th seed. You'd be like, oh, no, this is horrible news.
And the biggest thing you said in there is that they figured out how to play defense because they still have 0 defense, as we've seen. So, like, if they did figure it out, cool. Yeah, I wouldn't want to face them either, but I still take, what's funny is I would take more teams as being threatened by the Bengals in the NFC than I would in the AFC.
Maybe, but like if they finish, let's say the Bengals make the playoffs, they win out. That means they would have beat the Browns and Broncos at home in back-to-back weeks, and they would have went to Pittsburgh and beat them in week 18. They go into the playoffs on a 5-game winning streak. It would remind me a lot of that Rodgers-Packers team that won the Super Bowl against the Steelers, I think in 2013, 2012, maybe, because they were like bad all year. They had no defense, and everyone kind of got like healthy towards the end of the year. I think they won 4 in a row to make it, and then they were just unstoppable in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but again, the biggest thing you're talking about is that it's not even health. It's just their defense has to figure something out, and I don't know that they have the pieces to figure that out.
No, but like in this scenario where they make the playoffs, you would have had to think that they have figured it out somewhat. Like those would be 3
the
big,
biggest thing here. So
like,
you timed that perfectly.
Those would be 3 big wins coming in. Like I know the Browns aren't good, but beating a division rival, beating a playoff team in the Broncos at the Steelers, like that's a tough road to get in.
So I was gonna say at Steelers, if Pickens still isn't back, this offense is abysmal. Like there's nothing. I know they just faced the Eagles, but this is the big reason why I was, for fantasy purposes, why I was off Najee Harris at the end of the stretch. Is like you don't run on any of these teams down the stretch. Well, you get the Bengals, but that's not for us in fantasy. The Steelers. It really comes down to what does that team look like come week 18.
Well, they're playing Baltimore this week, and they're big underdogs against Baltimore.
And then they get Kansas City.
Yeah, but it could be Kansas City without Mahomes potentially, which is a boost.
Maybe.
Well, it's funny because Kansas City is basically just playing Steelers football.
I know, but I would take Kansas City without Mahomes with Wentz before I would take the Steelers without Pickens. He's been clearly this team is not the same without George Pickens. Maybe they have nobody to throw to.
Dude, okay, so I was looking at the Defensive Player of the Year odds, and TJ Watt is now a minus 160 favorite. Patrick Surtain is plus 375. He's second in the odds right now. Both those guys got hurt at the end of the game. I think Surtain's a low ankle sprain, so he's probably okay. Do we know if TJ Watt's gonna play here?
I don't know. I'm with you. I knew that they said mild ankle sprain this morning on him, and then for that being Surtain, TJ Watt also low ankle, but they haven't. That was yesterday. We haven't got an update for his today like we did on Surtain.
Denver has number 2 and 3 in the Defensive Player of the Year odds. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, their defense is that good, so.
But it's strange because I still feel like the Texans' defense is better than the Broncos' defense. It's just we expect more from the Texans, and their offense looks so bad that it kind of gets masked how well that their defense is actually playing.
That's a fair point. I don't know. I think that's a tough toss-up for me. I'm not going to argue. If you want to say you take the Texans, I would take them real close. But haven't the Texans given up almost? I don't know. Hold on. And I know it's relative to who they played, but yeah, they've already given up 50 more points than the Broncos have this year. Who did they get? Yeah, they got a lot of 20-point games. They haven't been. Like I said, I respect the Texans defense. We've had this conversation the entire year. Earlier this year, I thought that the Texans could be a very complete team and potentially a favorite in the AFC period. But yeah, but they gave up 21 to the Jets. They gave up 26 to the Lions. That's not even that big of a number for the Lions. They gave up 32 to the Titans. That really hurts.
They did. They turned teams over because that was the 5-pick Jared Goff game where they still lost to the Lions and gave up the 26 points.
Yeah,
well,
you're right.
So I'm looking at DVOA top 5 defenses right now. Let's not worry about that. In your mind, who are the top 5 defenses?
Chiefs, and then these two. I take the Ravens how they're playing now that they've made all those adjustments. That's a defense I don't want to face. And then Eagles. So Vikings would be there too.
Yeah.
Vikings would be there too.
So you just gave 7 top 5 defenses. That's very, very magnanimous of you.
I gave you 6. 6.
So you had Houston, Denver, Philly, Minnesota, the Chiefs, and the Ravens.
Yes. So I gave you 6.
Those would be your 6. So here are the top 5 defenses per the numbers right now, per DVOA. Houston, number 1, Minnesota, Philly, Denver, and Detroit. Although Detroit is just losing people left and right.
That's how weighted is Detroit from the first half of the season.
It's not. In DVOA, it skews more towards the past 4 weeks than anything else. It still gives you
surprising.
Credit. It still gives you credit for things that you did earlier on in the season, but it is weighted. It's like the official world golf ranking.
Has that been updated for this week? I'm assuming not. I wonder how far they fall after this week.
Probably a bit. Like San Francisco is number 6, which is crazy to think about.
Really?
Yeah. It's San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, the Chargers, and then Buffalo.
And they're probably going to actually move up. I wouldn't be surprised if those flip because San Francisco played some really good defense in that Thursday night game. I know a part of it was weather, but they played really good defense.
Do you know who the 5 worst defenses are in the league?
Giants.
No.
Panthers.
Giants are the 6th worst.
Okay. Panthers?
Yeah, Panthers are 2nd worst. They are 31st.
Jaguars.
They're the worst.
Bengals.
Bengals are 4th worst.
Cowboys?
No, the Cowboys are like 23rd. They're not like abysmal. They're right around Chicago and Washington and Cleveland and Vegas and the Jets.
Raiders?
No.
Who are we missing? Patriots?
Patriots and the Falcons.
Falcons. I was taking a couple more guesses before I got to the Falcons.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense now that they're on this giant losing streak.
Yeah, it does.
And
they're not even facing the Buccaneers all the time.
No, when they're playing the Bucs, at least they actually produce some offense. If you took out the 2 Tampa Bay games for Kirk Cousins this year, what do his stats look like?
I was just pulling up Kirk Cousins because I had a feeling that's where you were going to go with this, and I was like, I wonder what his numbers are without those games. Because in those 2 games, you have almost 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. So just round it off and call 800. And so he's got, without that game, 2,600 yards, but 9 touchdowns to 15 interceptions.
That's gross. Gross.
14 interceptions. He threw an interception in that first game. So 9 to 14.
So
that's disgusting. 9 to 14 in 11 games. That's Daniel Jones numbers.
It's funny you mentioned Daniel Jones, because after now watching Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle, Daniel Jones is a lot better than those guys. Daniel Jones is not bad compared to those guys.
Well, you're giving them a very low bar to the crossover.
Well,
I mean, throwing Sam Hamill too.
I like to call it the Bryce Young bar, where you just compare him to the shittiest thing possible, and you're like, oh, this guy's great. Not great.
Yeah, we already had that argument. Sam Howell's in that conversation too. He looks better than Sam Howell does.
Sam Howell's your guy, though.
For fantasy, yeah, he was. I never said he was that good. I called him lesser Jameis Winston. That's exactly what we got last year.
Yeah, we didn't get it we didn't get it on Sunday night, unfortunately. We just got all the bad. All the bad.
Very, very bad. Everything you saw from that brief snippet is why Sam Howell is lesser Jameis Winston. And you got off the roller coaster, not even a roller coaster, you got off the ride late last year when that schedule turned, which that's the problem. Anybody with a half-decent defense, they just had a really cake schedule last year, too, to boot, the Commanders. Sam Howell, that's the biggest problem he has. You watched that, you know what you saw. He waits for a window. And the biggest thing is not he just waited for the window, is if you're going to wait for the window, at least try to fit it in there. Don't throw it to the window next to it.
Have a little bit of anticipation on the throw.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So as of today, the Chiefs would get the bye in the AFC. The Bills would play the Chargers in the first round in Buffalo. I think that's the best matchup the Bills could have. If it's going to be between Denver and Los Angeles, I actually think the Chargers are a better matchup for them.
I think they are, but as of right now, I'd pretty much take anybody. I think the Bills are clearly the best thing going right now in the AFC.
Let's pump the brakes on the Bills just a little bit. They just gave up over 40 points in back-to-back games.
They did, and they still won those games. One of them
They won one of those games.
They won. Yeah, that's what I was saying. They won one of those games in the Lions in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, does it worry you about the Lions at all? Because they don't have to face Buffalo every week.
No, they don't. I'm not that worried about the Lions. I just still go back to what we talked about last week, because I think there's a world where I think the Eagles could still win it.
Yeah,
Eagles. There's the argument I weighed.
There's the argument right now that Minnesota controls its own destiny here, that if they keep winning, they're going to be the 1 seed.
They will. I think the Eagles, if you gave me a toss-up right now, what I was going to say back to last week was I was making the argument that the Eagles, similar to the Chiefs, haven't played 100% their game so far this year. And yet again, honestly, Saquon Barkley got banged up in that game, was stretching out, probably just like a contusion. Should be fine.
He came back, but A.J. Brown being hurt, if he's actually hurt, curtains. They're not the 1 seed.
Oh, that's so I was going to say is if they still won that game, even without Saquon Barkley, it's every single game. It's something happens and they're just not complete and they're still winning. I mean, they've won what now, 10 in a row, and their defense is elite. So yes, I agree with you. AJ Brown done, huge factor. I actually would say, as crazy as this is going to sound, everybody's going to lose their mind, probably turn off your show right now. A.J. Brown would be a bigger loss than Saquon Barkley if both of them went down.
I mean, I've been making that point all year. I completely agree with you. You saw they were able to cobble together everything with Gainwell enough. It's not like Barkley was lighting it up before he left anyway. Listen, Barkley's important. They're going to need all of these guys if they actually want to win the Super Bowl. But I think on a week-to-week basis and actually winning games, A.J. Brown is more important to that team than Saquon Barkley is.
Yeah, agreed.
And now he and Jalen Hurts have mended fences, which is really nice.
Oh, shocker that happened.
So, you know what we discussed the Bucs a little bit last week in terms of their ability to actually win the Super Bowl. Their odds right now to win the Super Bowl are, let me pull this up here, to win outright. Buccaneers are now down to 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. Do you think they actually have a chance?
No, but I think it's fun.
I think they can score with anyone. And I went through their wins. I don't want to do it again. I did it on the Sunday Night Live show, which everyone should go check out as we recap the games and go through everything. And Cuss deals with his Stockholm syndrome with Aaron Rodgers even more. But they've beat every good team in the NFC.
They lost to the 49ers.
Sure. They lost to the 49ers the week after Godwin went out. They lost to the Chiefs those back-to-back weeks. Those were good. They beat the Lions. They beat the Eagles. They just beat the Chargers, who I guess are in the AFC. And they beat Washington. They beat 3 of the playoff teams, including the Lions and Eagles.
Yeah, but they also have losses this time. They got nothing going against the Broncos earlier this year.
Sure. Listen, I'm not saying that they can't lose and they're a lock to win the Super Bowl, but they can go in and beat any of these teams.
I don't think they can beat the Eagles.
They already beat.
I don't think they have
They've beat the Eagles like each of the past 5 times they've played them, including in the playoffs.
That's not the
last
same
year.
Eagles.
Well, what
week
about the
3,
same?
4 Eagles. I was gonna say week 3, 4, whatever it was for the Eagles is not the same Eagles today. It's all the defense is completely different.
All right, do you have Stockholm syndrome with the Eagles? I get that they're great. They're not the best team in the league.
Their defense is elite. Their defense is top 5, easy.
I mean, it didn't look so great when they should have lost to Carolina last week.
No, everybody has an off week. We've just talked about that. Teams can't be perfect. They've won 10 in a row.
Sure. I mean, listen, the Lions won, 11 in a row before yesterday?
Yeah, and they had an off week. That's why when you just said, are you that concerned? And I said, not really. I still think that...
I think that the Vikings give the Eagles a ton of problems.
Why?
I think they can contain Jalen Hurts, keep him in the pocket, and if they can keep him in the pocket, then he's a lot less effective than he normally is. He needs to extend the play, get to the outside, let the routes develop down the field a little bit more, and they have an excellent run defense. Like, they can limit Barkley, and their offense is just good enough. I think that they have the playmakers. They can create a big play, maybe 2, maybe 3 in that game. Like, that reeks of a Minnesota 23-20 win in the playoffs.
Yeah, but what percentage of the time would you say they win that game?
45.
I think it's a little aggressive. I don't disagree that the Vikings can win. I'd shoot more like 30. I'd say they win 3 out of 10 times against them, but it could happen.
And the Bucks probably win, 75% of the time against the Eagles, maybe 100% of the time?
I don't think that's the case anymore. I think, beginning of the season, 100%, but this is not the same Eagles. Their defense. I give so much respect to how many times we talk about this too? Defenses when it comes to playoff time. This defense is what do I have to say? Top 3? Like, I don't understand why you won't get on board with understanding how good this defense has been playing.
I mean, I watched Bryce Young look like semi-respectable, which is a big ask for him against the Eagles, and then he couldn't do shit against the Cowboys.
So we're taking one game sample.
You
make the argument for the Lions, but not for the Eagles.
I'm taking a 1-game sample for this vaunted defense for the Eagles. Like, I don't know, let them go up against some high-scoring teams here. I mean, they were able to do it against the Ravens. That was nice. You know, the Commanders outside in the first big game. They haven't played a ton of really high-end offenses.
They shut down the Bengals, like you said. They shut down the Rams.
That was in week 6, Jake. That was years ago. I mean, they're not even the same team anymore.
I'm using your argument. Like you keep saying,
which argument are we going to use? Are we going to use yours? Or are we going to use mine? Because if you want to use mine, I'm going to say that the Bucks are going to beat them.
No, I'm saying I'm using yours against you. Is like you're saying the Bucks matter, so the Bengals should matter. I'm saying that that's not the same defense, so therefore I don't care about the Buccaneers, what they did in that week.
Okay. And you don't care about the Panthers either?
No, I'm not acknowledging the fact that Bryce Young played well in that game, but they still won, and it's still one off week that they still won.
You know who I haven't heard from this week is those Panthers people who were very mad at me about Bryce Young, me calling him dog shit. Turns out he is.
It's not dog shit, but we're not going down that road again.
Horrible, man.
No,
go watch the fucking game. He is awful. It's like saying that Drake May is awesome and not Blake. It's like saying Drake May. Oh no, Drake May is really good. No, he's Blake Bortles.
No, look, we don't need to have this argument again because we're just going to be running around the same circle we just did last week.
Yeah, and people can go tune into the game and they can watch Bryce Young be absolutely terrible and be like, oh yeah, I forgot. You know what? The Cowboys' defense is so good. It's really tough, going against them. Down like 8 guys. Would you rather have Bryce Young or Cooper Rush?
For the future? Bryce Young.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sure about that?
I'm not building a team around Cooper Rush.
Would you rather have Spencer Rattler or Bryce Young?
Bryce Young.
Are you sure?
We've seen Spencer Rattler.
Yeah,
I'm positive on that
Spencer
one.
Rattler looked electric in the second half when he came in the game.
That's one half. And I'm a Spencer Rattler fan.
It doesn't sound like it because he might be better than Bryce Young.
I'm not saying that Bryce Young's going to have a career 3 years from now, but I'm just saying your extreme is not right.
Oh, so now we're backpedaling to he might not have a career in 3 years?
No, I said that same thing. I've always said that.
Okay.
I've only legitimately said, and I'm not taking 1 week away from his improved play. And what did I say exactly? The same thing last week. I said there are still flaws he needs to fix, but he's definitively played better. And your big thing was all about comparing Bryce Young to Bryce Young. And I said, we're not going around the circle again. You have your opinion on Bryce Young. We're not going to agree on this. We don't have to agree 100% of the time. That's what makes this show good.
I think it's okay that if we don't agree, you're the one who seems very upset about it.
Not at all.
You sure? Your
Yeah.
boyfriend. Your boyfriend.
How many times you asked me if I'm sure today?
You just seem very like you really want to defend your boyfriend Bryce Young. It's okay.
Hey, you might want to tell Nicole about him.
That's all right. You
I have
guys
to break the news somehow.
Listen, you don't need to break the news. Just have a throuple. You'll be fine. Anything else in the NFC? Like, are the Rams just going to walk away with the NFC West? Because that seems too easy. I'm starting to think that Arizona might end up winning this division.
Why? Yeah, like at this point, I would take the Rams. And don't they have the division now? They have it, right?
Yeah, they're currently in the lead, but they go to the Jets this week, and then they have, I believe, Arizona and San Francisco, I believe, to end the year. Seattle to end the year.
Yeah, they could easily win out. They control their own destiny, and I don't know that they don't.
They could
they
easily
win out.
hold on. They could easily lose out too.
Yeah, but who's a threat to them with the way that they're playing right now?
I mean, get them outdoors, get them away from home. Maybe they're a little bit different. I mean, they didn't look exactly world-beating against San Francisco.
No, but the only game they have outdoors is remaining is this week against the Jets.
Sorry, I mean at home. So they're at the Jets. That makes that Jets game a little bit tougher for them. I think they'll be able to beat Seattle, but I don't just they look so bad. I think Arizona might have their number, just like they have Seattle's number.
Arizona's the most inconsistent team in the league. I'm not going to trust it.
Listen,
They could win? Sure, because they could show up and all of a sudden.
Arizona can't beat Seattle, and that's kind of what we're holding them to right now is that, like, oh, man, they look so terrible against Seattle 2 of 3 weeks, but bad matchup for them.
Sure, but they're also a bad matchup throughout the season for Kyler Murray. Like, look at their games. You say Minnesota. Actually, they've held that one close. They barely beat the Chargers. They lost to Green Bay.
They didn't hold that one close. They should have beat Minnesota. They outgained them by double and lost at the last second.
Yeah.
They blew it.
But that's where I'm going. Like, that's my point, is they're inconsistent. 1 week to the next, they're like all over the map. Kyler Murray plays well 1 week and does dog crap the next. And it's like they have no consistency to their team. And I was like, yeah, they could win the game against the Rams, but I'm not going to trust it. They could also go out there and put up 10 points. That's just who the Cardinals are this year.
Yeah, I think the Rams are kind of in the same scenario. I mean, don't forget, this is the same team within the last 6 weeks that's lost to the Dolphins. They lost to the Eagles. They should have lost to the Patriots in New England. That's what worries me about this Jets game is how bad they looked in New England like 4 weeks ago.
And that's certainly fair. Point being, I think it goes either way. Like, I wouldn't say one's definitively much better than the other, but the Rams at least control their destiny. That's what they have the advantage of.
I guess technically Seattle controls its own destiny too, because they would play the Rams in the final week, and then they would end up a game ahead. But I just think their schedule's too difficult.
And we don't know if Geno Smith is playing.
Yeah, I think he plays. They'll power him through this. And Howell maybe looks bad. I mean, that offensive line is not good, and we kind of saw is Geno the actual MVP?
No.
Is it Geno or George Pickens? Which one is the actual MVP of the league?
A.J. Brown?
Yeah, or A.J. Brown. Like, one of those 3 guys, I think, is the actual answer to this.
None of the above. But wait, who does Seattle? Seattle's got Minnesota home. They're probably going to lose Minnesota, so that ruins their rest of the season.
Yeah, and I think it's Minnesota, Chicago, and then the Rams to finish things off.
Yeah. Not good.
Well, if they win them all, then they're a formidable team coming in. It's good for the Bucs, though. If the Bucs can get the 3 seed, that's great for them, so that they avoid one of. I mean, you probably end up with Green Bay in that situation. I think weirdly, Green Bay and Tampa are very similar.
So Tampa's, yeah, they have the 3 seed right now, which means they actually right now they host Green Bay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a toss-up game. That's the problem with the Bucs is that I think they can beat anyone, but they're a toss-up against everyone.
Yeah, you got the right now Eagles, Commanders, and then Rams, Vikings. Vikings go in there. That would take the Vikings easy in that game.
Do you think there's any chance that the Commanders slip out because they should have lost to the Saints after not only so why did New Orleans play Hainer? Was that a tanking job? Is that what happened?
No, because they wanted to see earlier this year. We already saw Rattler, and they already replaced Rattler. This was to see what they had in Hainer. And I think
nothing.
they got their answer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yes, to answer your first question, the Commanders could. They have the Eagles this week. The Eagles dominated them the first time around. Like, you have to hope for, if you're playing in fantasy playoffs, that you got to this point relying on Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, that they don't fall flat in their face again against the Eagles. And then if the Eagles win this game, now they're 9-6. Seahawks, if they win, would be tied with them. Cardinals would be 1 game back. I mean, they're already behind technically they're behind the Rams. Well, that's because of the division. So, they could easily slip out. But you need the Falcons to win, which I don't think they're going to.
We'll get to the Monday night games here in a second. You don't think they're going to beat the Raiders on Monday night?
No. Next week.
Well, they're 10-point favorites next week.
Who do they have next? Oh, they got the Giants next week. Never mind. They're winning.
Yeah, I believe that the Falcons schedule towards the end is actually quite easy.
I think so. Well, they have the Raiders and the Giants, and who do they have? Washington? No, so there you go.
Yeah, Raiders, Giants, Washington, Panthers to end the season.
That the Washington game is going to be probably a difference maker of whether or not they're fighting each other, and then the Commanders, they have to hope if they do lose a game or two that the Seahawks or Cardinals fall out.
Yeah, does Washington have anyone easy left? They have, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. So not really.
Yeah, somewhat.
They've already lost to the Cowboys. They lost that game at home to the Cowboys too.
It's somewhat.
Yeah, I would say it's a difficult game, a divisional game on the road to a team you've already lost to in order to make the playoffs as a rookie. That's a tough game.
I don't think it's as tough as we would have thought, but that's why I said somewhat.
Yeah, you're right. It's not as tough as if the Cowboys were 13-3 coming into the game. You are correct, Jake.
Oh, forget their record. It's just who the Cowboys are right now.
Yeah, they're not great, but even when you take a look at the Lions spread this week, it's a lot shorter than you would think it would be because it's a divisional game on the road.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. We're getting caught up in semantics on this show. I'm just saying it's not a fearsome game. That's all.
I mean, I would fear it if I was them. If that was my game to make the playoffs, I would not be looking forward to that game. I'd rather be playing at the Giants.
Get that's a division game. Of course. The worst team in the league.
They're not the worst team. The Jags are the worst team in the league.
No, I would take the Jags every day of the week over them.
I suppose with Boyle starting at quarterback, I probably give you that one at this point.
Or DeVito, or a Lock.
Or DeVito. No, listen, Lock's a cut above those guys.
Yeah, it's like razor thin, one extra deli meat slice.
Hey, listen, you always got to, if Cam Stewart has taught me one thing on this program, you always want to go for the extra slice. You can squeeze that out. That's Drew Lock versus Tommy DeVito. You get that extra 6 yards out of him.
Yeah. Drew Lock's no better than Sam Howell.
I don't know about that. Sam Howell's pretty bad.
100%. So is Drew Lock. We've already seen Drew Lock.
Yeah,
he was terrible.
And we saw Sam Howell. It was even more terrible.
Yeah, they're both terrible, period. Good job Drew Lock fought for his chance to have a start for his career because he just ended it in that one game. Congratulations.
You think it's over for him? Is Sam Howell's career over then?
Everybody's going to have a backup job somewhere. The fact that we're on third and fourth string quarterbacks on some of these teams proves that they're going to be somewhere. But so the teams that have them are going to hope that they never have to go to them. Just like the Seahawks, we're hoping they never had to go to Sam Howell.
Would you rather build your franchise around Sam Howell or Bryce Young?
Bryce Young.
Are you sure? What about Spencer Rattler?
You already asked Spencer Rattler.
Oh, that's right. Spencer Rattler or Sam Howell?
Rattler.
Yeah. I mean, he's better than Bryce Young, so that's probably the route you'd have to go.
Or DTR.
DTR. Is Jameis getting benched now? Is DTR going to be the starter? Because they haven't made any sort of decision on that I've seen publicly yet.
There's a chance. We had Zach Jackson on Sirius XM, 2.5 weeks ago, and everybody was like, "You're stupid." I'm like, "I didn't write the article. I'm not the guy that covers the Browns." And he said at some point it was going to happen, and he didn't say definitively week 15, because it was on week 14, headed into week 15, that it was going to happen. No, week 14. So it would be week 14, 15. It hadn't happened the past 2 weeks. Could it happen this week? Absolutely. Could it be the week after? Sure. But it might happen at some point. That was the whole point for people in fantasy. Is fantasy just be concerned that you might get to your championship game and all of a sudden Jerry Jeudy's trying to catch passes from DTR.
Yeah, that would be bad. That'd be bad for anyone with Jerry Jeudy.
It'd be really bad for basically everybody on this team. And now Nick Chubb has a broken foot. So basically, yeah.
The holidays are here, and this year, I'm not stressing about what to wear, especially around the house, because I'll be wearing my Doers. These are the most comfortable pants that I own. They make me look good, and they're so comfortable. I wear them at work. I wear them around the house. I wear them when I'm out doing things, because Doers denim and lifestyle apparel is built for doing. And I can really tell the difference right now, because I've been switching in between jeans and I wear my Doers. There's a lot of temperature fluctuation going on right now at this time of the year. And the high quality temperature regulating fabrics, they keep me warm, but at the same time, I don't get overheated. So that's really where you want to go. And Doer has styles for everyone. They don't chase trends. There are pieces you can wear all year round. Trust me, I know you'll love your Doers as much as I do. Check out Doers flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopdoer.com/PME. Right now, my listeners get 20% off your first purchase when you use my exclusive URL, shopdoer.com/PME. This is such a great deal. Don't wait to get 20% off. Go now, shopdoer.com/PME. Introducing to you the TGL presented by SoFi Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN+. This is a simulator plus real chipping, real grass, and real green league featuring some of the PGA Tour's biggest players like Tiger and Rory and Xander. Only 2-hour matches inside of a stadium, and has other sporting elements like timeouts, refs, and overtime. You tee off from real grass into a screen. You might end up in the rough, or sand, real sand, and have to play it back into the screen out of there. After that, they use the technology to drop it by a real green side area plus a real putting surface, getting everyone involved in the contest. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. To learn more, visit tglgolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up. It's golf. For 11 months of the year, staying motivated is not a problem for me. Then December hits, the holidays around, I'm out of my normal routine, and it becomes a struggle to stay motivated and keeping myself laser focused on work and health and getting exercise in every single day, just because everything's so out of whack with my schedule being thrown off. The one thing that I've been doing to make sure that I stay on the right path every single day is waking up and drinking my AG1. I get my essentials for nutrients and supplements every single day, and it just makes me feel so good. It makes me motivated to continue to stay focused on what I need to accomplish every single day, no matter how out of the regular routine that my life starts to get. AG1 is a sponsor of the Pat Mayo Experience, so this holiday season, try AG1 for yourself or even gift it to someone special. It's the perfect time to focus on supporting your body with an easy and surprisingly delicious daily health drink. That's why I'm so excited to be partnering with them. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs inside your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/mayo to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/mayo to start your new year off on a healthier note. I wanted to talk to you about that. In terms of like waiver pickups, how good of a pickup is Jerome Ford, do you think? Like, is he a better pickup than Kendry Miller, assuming that maybe Kamara sits this week?
Not for me, because they did this before, and they used Deonta Foreman as like the lead at times. Now, I'm not saying that Deonta Foreman has better value than Ford, but they've already shown us this year that they don't want Jerome Ford as the bell cow, that we've seen him before. And I know people are like, it makes no sense. Why haven't they done it? But there's a lot of times we screen at teams and like, why are you doing this? The Giants, what are they doing with Devin Singletary right now? Makes no sense. But anyway, that's the point, is that teams aren't going to make sense to us for what they want to do. And when the Browns have lost and didn't have Nick Chubb to start this year, when healthy, because there was times when Foreman wasn't healthy, but when healthy, Foreman was getting like lead work, as in early downs and short yardage, and they were keeping Jerome Ford in his role. It expanded, but they used Foreman. So yes, I would ask, Jerome Ford would be third. I would go Kendra Miller, and I'm trying to think who else this week. Maybe he's second.
Yeah,
I feel like there was somebody else this week.
Okay, let's say you knew Camaro was out. Would Kendrick Miller then just be number one?
Yes,
Yeah,
easily.
I'm with you on that.
I actually think he's going to be out, so I would put Kendrick Miller, because we talked, I don't know if you and I did, but I know I've talked about it somewhere, one of the podcasts, Sirius XM, somewhere. But why aren't the Saints even considering this to begin with? They gave Kamara the contract already. Like, just shut him down. You lost Carr. We know Olave is not going to come back, because they already said, what's the point of bringing him back? You have nothing left. Just shut down Kamara.
They just need to stay 2 games ahead of the Panthers. That's all I need from the Saints. So just if the Panthers can lose, I have a bet with Cam. I gave him 1.5 on the season win total.
Okay. I was like, why? That seems very specific.
Yeah, I gave him a spread of 1.5 Saints versus the Carolina Panthers. And fortunately, like when they have Derek Carr, they can kind of win games. When they don't have Derek Carr, they're not so good.
That's because Derek Carr takes 3, 4, 5 shots downfield per game and actually connects on half of them. Now you have quarterbacks that can't do either.
I'm looking at the defenses right now, and this is how I structured my team. I picked up Green Bay last week. I didn't play them. I was on bye week this week. But for this week, week 16, they're probably the defense that is under 50% owned that you would want to go pick up. They're playing New Orleans this week in Lambeau. And then next week, 20% owned, the Indianapolis Colts playing your New York Giants in week 17.
Yeah. I'd still go Chargers.
Hey, Chargers are
New
owned,
England.
man. Aren't they?
No, they still haven't gotten up to 60%.
Yeah,
People didn't want to use them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Although Denver at New England, I mean, you would rather have Chargers at New England instead of Indianapolis at the Giants?
Yeah,
Really?
I would. Just because it's your argument that you always make, is the fact that how many times do you actually get a 0 points allowed on the scoreboard? It's more so the fact that the Giants are playing miserable. There's not that many turnovers because they're running it and just not letting the quarterbacks do much at all anyway. So maybe sacks is where you approach it. But again, if you talk about between the two, Drake May have potential for turnovers against the Chargers defense. It's very close. Dolphins, if it's DTR, at Browns is in play too.
Yeah, even with Jameis, it's very much in play.
That's true. Good point.
You pick up Jameis, pick up Miami's defense, play them both, and get double points.
That'd be interesting.
So I was telling you, I scored the most points I have in the history of my 15-year league this week, and I had a bye. So I'm obviously losing in week number 16 in my first matchup in the playoffs in the semifinals. But you put out a tweet that people were like kind of deranged about. I thought it was interesting.
Oh my God, people lost their damn mind. And never did I say in the tweet, this is the way you have to play. Don't play the way you like to play. But all I said was, I actually have done this in the flex leagues and my home league, is that once the playoffs hit, it's top scores advance. Because,
I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate it.
And that's fine. You don't have to play it. Like, you can hate all you want. But like, the point being is like, what have you done to cause the seeding? Like, okay, cool. What's that any different than any random week in the season that you happen to face somebody because you happen to face somebody in week 8 versus the fact that you faced them in week 12 and they scored 80 in week 8 versus 180 in week 12? You had nothing to do with that. It's just the randomness of the scores. So like, instead of you, as you're mentioning, I thought you were going to tell me you scored the most ever and still got outscored and kicked. The whole point was somebody messaged me and said scored like whatever it was, 160, and then the first time ever the guy scores 170. And on the flip side of the bracket, you have two teams scoring 90 and 80. It was the randomness of the matchups of how the standings fell out. And you and I have talked about this before too, where some people will be like, oh, you get to pick your playoff matchup. And we've seen that bite people in the ass too, because you just never know. You face a team with Josh Allen and something else, and they go nuclear, and it just happens. You don't have to play this way. You can play with 14 kickers. I don't give a bleeping bleep. Do what you want, but don't also be an asshole to me. Like, people are like, oh, you tell your wife that I hope her boyfriend wins this league. Cool, dude. Okay, enjoy your mute. Like, this is what we're doing with the keyboard warriors.
So that guy accused you of using the cuck chair.
That's, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's in
Somebody called it,
it's in every hotel.
It was everything. It was that, it was beta, it was MAGA, it was like everything you could possibly find, like up and down the list. I muted so many people. It was actually like just kind of clicking there, going through like a bunch of mutes. It was fun.
I love this. I'm with those people.
Are you looking through the responses?
Yeah, I'm looking through the responses now. It's fantastic. You get to a point, and I know what you're doing. And I understand it. You're trying to make it as fair as possible so the best teams get rewarded. And taking rid of kickers kind of does that. And like I really like the 6 seed in a 14-team league or whatever going straight.
And the second game against the median, the doubleheaders.
No, I hate that. That's absolutely stupid. Part of the fun of fantasy football is this.
Hold on. I know. Hold on. I want you to make your point, but it's funny that you say that is because there's people who legitimately like the median doubleheaders that were saying this is stupid as hell. That's like, if you want to say both are stupid, cool, fine. But like one without the other. So anyway, continue. I just wanted to point out the fact that
I just want most points of the remaining seed gets the last seed in the playoffs. I think that's a fair trade-off. Yeah. That's the one that I like. But I like playing 2 games at once, median score, making it like there's a reason fantasy baseball is dead because no one likes this shit. People like head-to-head beating your friend, and if you get fucked, that's part of the game. That's part of the fun.
So you're playing head-to-head.
That is the part of fantasy football that people actually enjoy. And the reason that fantasy football continues to remain popular is because the guy that puts in the most effort can lose to the guy who puts in the least amount of effort. There is that variance, and that is the part that people actually like. And that's why they continue to play it every year.
There's still variance. There's still variance in the playoffs with what you score and who scored and who went off and who didn't and everything like that.
So you're trying to take out some of the variance.
Hold on. I let you make all your points. I don't agree with what you said, though.
You cut me off halfway. What are you talking about?
Because I wanted to tell you about the people that were pushing back, and I said, please, and then finish your point. I let you finish your point.
The
6 seed getting points is counter to, like you just said, then you shouldn't have 6 seed per points. Then you should only have records 1 through 6.
No, I think that's one that's actually credible. I think that one makes the most sense.
It's the same.
No, it's not the same. No, it's not the same point.
Yes, it is.
You want to go head to head.
Yes, it
is.
If
you scored 170 and lost to 160, yeah, you're fucked. You're out. Sorry.
Then a 6 seed should be record, not points.
Nah, people seem to listen. I like that one. When I ran it by the league, they like
that one. Which makes no sense.
We tried to run it
because
by
that's exactly what I'm saying.
But it's not. You're trying to add on because people like one thing. You think they like everything that goes along with it. It's not the case. They like this one thing.
No,
they do. No, yes, they do.
The fact that point.
Like, listen, I'm not the one getting. I'm not the one getting called a cuck on the internet because of my terrible takes, Jake. It's you.
No, but you're also making the same take 2 different ways.
I'm not making the same
points
take.
Matter,
I'm telling you the one thing that I like.
If points matter for the 6th seed, if points matter for the 6th seed, they should matter for the playoffs too, because you're rewarding the team that played the best and did the best throughout the season and got screwed because of matchups. That's the whole point of the 6th seed getting points. That's the same point in the playoffs.
But it's not, because it's over the course of 14 weeks to begin the season. You have a giant sample, not a 1-week sample of your team doing well.
No, but you have the best team in the playoffs.
Okay, it's fine. You got to beat the person in front of you. If you had the best team in the playoffs, then it wouldn't matter who you played. You would have already won.
And second best team gets screwed,
yeah,
potentially.
Good. That's part of the fun. It's money time.
Okay,
now.
Again, you can play your way. Go play your way.
I'm most definitely going to play.
Go play
my
both
way.
sides of the fence.
And people are going to come with me, and they're going to say, Pat, your idea is superior. Let's go with you.
Of course, because it's your show.
Well, no, it's because people want to play like a reasonable person. You're trying to be the baseball guy that sucks all the fun out of baseball. Hey, let's play the shift. Oh, let's never throw a strike. We need 3 outcomes. You ruined baseball, Jake. And now you're trying to ruin fantasy football. You're just trying to take away all the, you're trying to take away all the fun parts of the game.
I'm the guy, and everybody in the Flex League, even the person who's getting kicked out, loves the format, and the people in the Home League like the format. But no, I'm the guy. I'll take it. Fine.
Yeah, no, you are.
I ruin everything.
Yeah, you're ruining everything. You're trying to take all the fun and variance out of it.
I'll make sure right now. I'll call up my wife's boyfriend and let him know that he said Pat Mayo's right.
You should. You can text him right now. I'll take a break. You can get him on speaker if you'd like. I'd like to talk to him, just like really talk him through this, because everyone believes you when
Have
you're
him in the
playing with
studio.
your
Have him in the studio.
What's that? He's in the studio?
I said bring him into the studio. Yeah,
Into your studio?
in your studio.
Well,
I said have him on as a guest.
To bring him into the studio? Jake, is there a chance that this guy doesn't even have a passport?
I don't know. I have to ask him.
I saw a thing about Americans. Only like 20% of Americans have a passport, which absolutely blew my mind.
They don't travel that much.
Yeah, seemingly so.
I didn't travel until I got married.
Hey, you were in Toronto that one time. You would have.
Oh
used
wait,
a
that's
passport
I
for
was in
that.
Toronto. That was for work. That's I had to come there.
But you needed
That
to
started
have a
this whole
passport.
madness. I know. This started this everything. Take that back.
Monday Night Football. There are 2 games on this slate, so I have some picks for you. I believe we lost last week. Oh yeah. Now, what was last week's Monday Night Football game?
You as the Cooper Rush thing killed you, wasn't it again?
Yeah, it was stupid Cooper Rush. They set up. There was a play at the end of the half that was a designed run for Cooper Rush to get like 8 yards to set up a 70-yard field goal for Aubrey.
I know. I remember watching it.
That's just absolutely mind-boggling. So here are the 3 that I'm going with on Monday Night Football. We got 4 teams to choose from here, and again, Code Mayo gets you that deposit bonus of up to $1,000, and it gets you a free pick with Kirk Cousins that you can add to this to make it a 10-1. So here we are: DeAndre Swift higher than 12.5 receiving yards with Travis Homer out and Roshan Johnson out. It looks like Swift is going to play. It feels like the best way to try to get to Minnesota's defense. Maybe throw some checkdowns. That could be one catch.
Wait, when did they announce Homer's out?
I thought he was out with his neck problem from last week.
I didn't think he was out yet.
Oh, well, maybe he's not officially out. Travis Homer's not doing anything. DeAndre Swift, receiving game. This is where they're going to have to get him involved into space if they can. And 12.5 seems like a pretty low number.
Okay.
Which way would
I
you
hate
go?
DeAndre Swift's. I would not touch anything DeAndre Swift. But you might be right on this one. You've been right on a lot of the receiving game things.
Running back receiving yards, hires, have been really the gold mine on Underdog so far this season. They're abnormally low.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, obviously they don't hit every single one doesn't hit every single time, obviously. But they're just like, you can catch them like 7-10 yards lower than projections. Like my projections have DeAndre Swift.
You said 12.5?
12.5. Yeah. Yesterday, you know what, Brian?
I'm actually okay with that.
It ended up going off at 9.5, which was still too low. But when I did the show on Saturday, I put in Brian Robinson with knowing Austin Eckler was out. Do you know what his opening receiving total was against the Saints?
When the game that Austin Eckler was announced out?
No, like Sunday's game. What was Brian Robinson's over?
Like this week's game?
This week's game, yeah. What do you think it was?
It should have been something like similar to 12.5.
4.5.
Okay.
And it closed at 9.5, and he still beat that number. So I have DeAndre Swift higher than 12.5 receiving yards. Bijan Robinson higher than 17.5 fantasy points against the Raiders.
That should happen.
That should
There's no
happen.
reason
Yeah,
that shouldn't.
as long as everyone stays healthy. And then on the other
Tyler
side,
Algier doesn't steal 2 touchdowns.
and then on the other side, I went Brock Bowers higher than 8.5 targets.
Yeah. Okay, so all of yours should happen.
It should. I mean, every time I put them in, they should happen. Although putting Jake Hayner higher than 2.5 rushing attempts in retrospect was a poor idea. But when I went back to check to see all my losses, they graded it as an incomplete because he got benched in the second half. So I got my money back because everything else won.
That's one way to get that worked.
I feel like such a knob too because my 2 favorite plays I had on that with Hayner, but I threw on Hayner because I get greedy, tried to make a little bit more money. My 2 favorite plays of the week, as I gave out on the Saturday show, were David Moore lower targets and Dontavian Wicks lower targets, and it wasn't even close. Both those just sailed to a win.
Yeah. Well, that's because the return of Coker for the David Moore one.
Yeah.
David Moore was barely on the field, and that was even with Leggett getting hurt in that game.
Yeah, and then David Moore picked up 4 targets in like garbage time at the end of that game after Leggett ended up leaving. So DeAndre Swift higher receiving yards, Bijan Robinson higher fantasy points, and Brock Bowers higher than 8.5 targets. If you're new, you use code Mayo. You get Kirk Cousins to throw onto that as well, and you win 10 times your money. It's 6 without Kirk Cousins, 10 with Kirk Cousins, which is a free pick. It's an automatic winner, so you should go do that with code Mayo right now, and you'll get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. So it's almost Christmas, Jake. I just told you how much I've cashed out. Maybe you and the good people out there can do that too.
Oh, then I can take her boyfriend on a trip
To Canada and buy him a passport.
Yeah. Make sure he has one. What's the Drake London line, by the way?
The Drake London line is, I can look that up for you. Why? Do you like the higher or lower on London? Because I like the higher on Mooney targets.
I was curious about targets and yards and everything for London, honestly.
So London is
matchup.
5.5 receptions, 65.5 yards, and 8.5 targets.
I kind of like the targets and yards.
You like the targets more than yards?
Receptions. I like the targets slightly more than yards. I like the yards pretty good. The receptions is where I hesitate.
Yeah, well, you can only play one per player, so I can see you doing that as well. We can build one right now if you want to. Tell me the players you love or hate from the Monday Night Football games, and I'll construct.
Oh,
an
I
entry
liked your
for it.
picks.
I
liked your.
Let's build a new one. Listen, we can't get rich by just playing one entry, Jake.
So London
higher,
that's
65.5 receiving yards. There's one. We got 4 games to pick from. Is there, do you have any lean on Minnesota and Chicago? Is there any one or two players from that game you like or don't like either way? Caleb Williams under rushing yards or something.
How aggressive is Justin Jefferson? It's got to be super aggressive.
Justin Jefferson is 80.5 receiving yards, 6.5 receptions, or 8.5 targets.
That's pretty much all in line with what I have. What's Jacoby Myers?
Jacoby Myers is, Jacoby is 5.5 receptions, although that's juiced. You have to pay a bit of juice to the higher. 61.5 receiving yards, or 9 targets.
Yeah, I was just about to say the receptions I would take, but I don't like.
I kind of like
the
lower on 9 targets. That's a lot of targets, especially because I have Brock Bowers higher.
But he's got double digits in all of his last 3 games.
Yeah.
What was the receptions or not the reception? What was the receiving yards?
The receiving yards was 61.5.
I kind of like that.
All right, let's go with that.
I had him for. Where did I have him? I can go back to him. I had him for 68 almost, and then. I'm pulling it up right now. His last 3 games, 121, 97, and 67. And then 105 before that. He had that down game against Miami.
What do you feel about 51.5 rushing yards for DeAndre Swift? Lower?
Yeah, I don't like. I just feel like one bad for him in the run game, and then I just don't know how many touches he gets. Just that he doesn't feel like he's 100%.
All right, let's go lower on his 51.5. Well, Kyle.
Yeah. What was Caleb Williams? We didn't touch Caleb Williams. You brought him up, and then we never talked about him.
Caleb Williams' rushing number is 25.5.
I have him for 27.5.
All right, so that's too close to the number. When we're doing these, how do you feel about rushing attempts? 4.5.
Over.
By what do you have him projected at?
5.6.
Yeah, that's dicey for me. I always like taking the higher on rushing attempts of the winning team just in case of the kneel downs. Unless it's Jordan Love. There's an anti-correlation between Jordan Love rushing attempts and how the Packers actually do. So if you ever bet the Packers money line, parlay it with under Jordan Love rushing attempts.
What do we got for Kirk Cousins' interception?
Kirk Cousins interceptions? How juiced is that? Let's see here.
It's got to be heavy.
Interceptions. Oh, if you take him, it's juiced slightly down. It's 0.93, and lower than half an interception is 1.05. You like him to throw it?
Yeah, interception for Kirk Cousins.
All right, let's do that. So we'll play those 4. We'll go Drake London, higher receiving yards. Jacoby Myers, higher, 61.5 receiving yards. DeAndre Swift, lower than 51.5 rushing yards. And Kirk Cousins, higher than 0.5 interceptions.
One more.
Oh, let's go.
Because we might swap one out. What is Caleb Williams' interception?
Caleb Williams' interception is... It's the same as Kirk Cousins. We can throw that on there, too.
Throw both of them on there and get rid of the other number.
Why? Now we're almost up to 20-1.
If you want. That's very aggressive.
Let's do this. That's how we play. Let's do a flex play. So if we get 5 out of 5, we win 8.74 times our money. If we go 4 out of 5, we get 2.5 times our money.
Cool.
So let's do that. $50 pays $437 or $117.50. How about that? And I'll play it as
$437. I could buy him a ticket to come visit.
Oh man, flying in the States is so cheap. That's like half a flight one way in Canada.
Seriously?
Yeah. Flying.
Not if you want to go coast to coast. And when we go visit Nicole's son, it's like $1,300.
Oh yeah, I mean Halifax to Vancouver from where I'm at, it's like a $2,000 one-way flight.
That's because you and Meanie live in the sticks of Canada.
We do. I mean, we live about as far east as you can, and that would be as far west. You have to forget that Canada is substantially larger than the United States as well.
Oh, I know. I'm just talking about how, like, you guys also live in a very remote-ish area.
Sort of? Where do you live?
Is it? Norfolk, Virginia. We have over 7 million people around this area.
Yeah, but where do you live in particular? Like, how many people live in
Virginia
your city?
Beach. Over 1 million.
There's 1 million people in Virginia Beach? You guys gotta stop fucking.
That's why they always No, that's why they try to keep getting sports teams here, but the problem is a lot of the population's Navy, so they're not here all the time, and then nobody supports sports teams around here.
How close are you to DC?
3 hours.
Okay, so that's not like, because I know that Baltimore had problems like inside the market that NFL teams, baseball teams, like they own part of the market. Like they wanted to have a hockey team in Hamilton, and they were like an NHL team, and the Maple Leafs were like, no, we own this area. You can't have another team here.
Oh no, they actually sold preseason tickets to a hockey team a bunch of years, Hampton Roads Rhinos, and that never went through. And then they tried to start building a basketball arena to get an NBA team, and that never happened. And it's never going to happen. I went to the Admirals, which are ECHL. They've won 8 in a row, not even 50% capacity. Nobody goes to sports around here.
Oh, that's too bad. You can go to like a junior C hockey game around here, and people will be there. Yeah, but we have we have a professional team now. We have a National Lacrosse League team.
Field hockey, ODU's women's field hockey team was national champions. 30 people showed up for their victory parade.
You're shocked that people didn't show up to a women's lacrosse NCAA championship parade?
I didn't say lacrosse. I said field hockey.
Oh, sorry,
I'm just saying there's got to be more than 30 family members. Like, that's my point. There's like 30 people.
So. I don't think there are more family members than that. They probably actively did not want to go to this parade. And how long is a parade if there's only 30 people there? It's like they get in their car, they drive to the next stop sign, they get
parade's
out.
Maybe like a little aggressive. Whatever the celebration was, 30 people is abysmal. You're the national champ. They're Division I national champions. This is a long time ago, by the way.
They went to the Division I women's field hockey pizza party at the local Shakey's.
We don't have Shakey's.
Whatever local spot you guys have.
Why not pizza? They actually sell pizza at ODU now, $5 an effing slice.
Yeah, if they can get it, why not?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. We got to think about something to do in the new year because the next 2 Mondays, I know it's obviously over the holidays, probably not going to do this show. I'll have golf previews every Monday coming up forward, and we're going to do the Sunday night show still. So what do you want to do? Do you want to do like a big like playoff rankings type show, something like that?
Do something like that.
Yeah,
I'm open for.
Yeah, are you going to be doing
different.
playoff player rankings?
I always do playoff player rankings. Yes.
Yeah, so let's do that. When the playoffs come around, we'll get back together and we'll bang it out and try to win some money on Underdog doing these playoff drafts. I'm going to use your rankings to do it, and if I don't win, I'm going to demand they change the format.
I was gonna go somewhere else when you said we're gonna bang it out, and I said, and we can do playoff rankings is where I was gonna go with it.
Oh man, then Sam Howell will be very upset with us. You're cheating on Sam Howell already. Look at that, cheating on your wife, cheating on Sam Howell with me of all people too. But I
wasn't the one cheating. She was because she was with the boyfriend.
Yeah. Sorry, Nicole. Didn't mean to get brought up this much, but I'll see you this summer at Meanie's wedding, and we can meet in person. That'll be a lot of fun, and we can argue in person.
I thought that got pushed back.
I don't know. You think I pay attention to this stuff? I'm close. I don't
clearly not.
I don't need to make big plans. I just need to get in my car and drive an hour. It's not that big of a deal.
I need my Porsche Pat. I can't even talk. Let's get the hell out of here.
All right, at AllenKid on Twitter, where you can go like yell at Jake for his terrible format ideas. But theathletic.com is where you can find him. And I bought a new car, Jake. Turn on Sirius XM, and boom, there you and Dana. I'm listening to you guys as I'm driving around.
I'm surprised you didn't drive off the side of the road.
I did.
Okay. I apologize.
What time are you guys on every day?
I'm on 1 to 3 Mondays and Thursdays this week, Wednesday, because I have gum surgery this Thursday. Yay! Oh. And the other days, it's still 1 to 3, but it's with Mike Randall and Dane.
All right, cool. So check out Jake on SiriusXM, the All In Podcast, and at AllenKid on Twitter, along with The Athletic. Have a Merry Christmas, Jake. I will talk to you into the new year, and for all of you good people, we'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!